Hey everybody, what's up? It's Chris here. I wanted to just take a few moments out of your day to talk about something that is important to me. I'll be doing a new Git video on Monday, but for today, I just wanted to share something that I thought is interesting. And so if you're new to programming, if you're just coming into the space and you're like, oh man, tools like ChatGPT are the best, right? They can help me to write code. I just wanted to walk you through an example of why, even though ChatGPT can write functioning code, and it can. I'm not trying to knock ChatGPT's code completion. I do want to point out that it's not necessarily the best tool to learn with, nor is it the best tool to write production-ready code. And we're going to use a very simple, very exaggerative example here, but I think it's important to see with your eyes why something like ChatGPT could lead you astray and how. So we're just going to ask it like the most basic interview question in the world, right? Can you write a Python function to calculate the nth number in the Fibonacci sequence? And go. So it's going to go ahead and do that. Great. It comes up with a recursive solution. Let's go ahead and copy and paste that into our notebook here, which if you're curious, I've named with love ChatGPT is dumb.ipynb. Okay, cool. So it gives us the code. It tells us how it's doing it. It gives us an example and an output. Neat. Let's go. All right. Cool. Let's give that a run. 55. That's correct. I mean, I don't feel like we need to go too much further to confirm it's correct. 5 is 5. Let's try 15, right? So 15, 610. That's still correct. Let's try, just for the heck of it, let's try 20. Sure, 6,000. This all seems correct so far, right? Let's try, maybe not 50. Okay, maybe let's try 40. All right, let's try 40. Okay, we're just trying 40 here. All right, just waiting for this to complete. We're just trying 40. 40th Fibonacci number. Still waiting. It's calculating. It's going to come up with an answer, though. Yeah, that's correct. All right. It took 18 seconds. Maybe that's not fantastic. Okay, so let's see if there's a more efficient way to implement this. Let's use the iterative method. Okay, cool. We've got the memoized function. Cool. You love that. You know what? Let's use exactly the same code that we used in our original implementation. And kind of all we've done is we've added this from functools import LRU cache, and then we decorate this Fibonacci function, which is identical to the one above. We wrap that in the LRU cache. All right, cool. I'm happy with that. And then we have this cool, funky implementation, which you don't need to spend a lot of time on, but it's cool. All right, now let's pit these against each other. All right, so we're going to do, first of all, we're going to use the time it cell magic here to see how long it takes to run on average. The ChatGPT's implementation of Fibonacci 18. 452 microseconds, not bad. Let's try the iterative solution. All right, cool. Okay, 594, so it's slower, right? Well, there's a bit of a catch, right? This is in nanoseconds. This is in microseconds. So actually, this is almost 1,000 times faster. Okay, well, fair enough. Let's try it with the memoized version. We just added one line of code. There's no way it's that much better, right? Yes, it's that much better. So it's it's almost 10,000 times faster. All right, fair enough. Let's try the identity one just to see what it does. And we have this here. Okay, so it's a little bit slower, but it's still much faster. It's a little bit slower than the memoized version, I should say, but it's much faster than ChatGPT's version, again, by orders of magnitude. So just to show you very visually, right, let's time this thing going 1,000 times in a row. So we're slower. It's slower to do the iterative solution 1,000 times in a row than it is to do one instance of the ChatGPT's implementation. And we'll just try it with the memoized version, and it's 464, 452. So it's like 10 microseconds slower to run this one 10,000 times, right? So hopefully I'm illustrating the point here, which is that ChatGPT is a great tool. It's very good at code completion, but it's naive. It doesn't understand code, doesn't understand what we're doing with our code, doesn't know why we want to do things with our code. And so if you're just beginning and you're like, hey, now I can implement Fibonacci, well, if you just follow that advice without looking into it, without checking to see if that's a great solution or a great implementation of what you're trying to do, fact checking it, you might wind up with a implementation that runs 10,000 times slower than if you had added one decorator to that function. And you might say to yourself, Chris, I'll just let this run in the background. Chris, I'm never going to implement Fibonacci in my job. That's probably true. I mean, hopefully it's true, I guess. But you might implement other functions. And if you rely on ChatGPT, it might produce a suboptimal result for you. And even if that's only like 2x or 3x slower, think of the amount of time that you're spending extra that you wouldn't have to ordinarily spend if you did some more digging, you looked into the problem, you looked into implementations of your problem. You'd be able to save yourself so much time. So again, 17.9 seconds to do the ChatGPT version versus instant with the memoized version, right? It's not literally instant, it's nanoseconds, but it's effectively instant. It feels instant. And compared to 17.9 seconds, it is instant. There is one limitation with the memoized implementation, which is, of course, because it's reliant on this huge recursion, it can hit the recursion limit fairly easily. There's ways to circumvent that. And that's why the identity implementation is extra super great, because while it is, about half as fast as the memoized version, you can go all the way up to like 15,000 and not hit the recursion limit. And in fact, you're going to hit Python's integer limit. So you can see here, you can't do integer to string conversion up to this level before you hit the conversion or the recursion limit. So I just wanted to show you guys kind of the reason we shouldn't blindly trust these code generation services. You should absolutely use them and get good at them and understand them and add them to your workflow if you feel like they can increase your productivity. If they can write boilerplate faster for you, but I really have to point out that ChatGPT doesn't understand what we're doing. It's very good at code completion, but it doesn't understand what we're going to be using that code for. And so unless you give it more context, or you are very explicit in your prompts, or you already know about the implementation you're going to use, and you just want it to write it for you, it's often going to lead you to a situation where you're producing less effective, less efficient code. And absolutely, code efficiency is not the be-all, end-all, but it does matter, especially if you're running a service that gets called like 1 million times a day, right? A 10,000 times slowdown is going to have downstream impacts that your business would be happier without. So just wanted to point that out, include some examples, some pretty visual and stark examples of why just blindly relying on ChatGPT to write code for you is probably not the most productive thing to do. But again, not to dissuade you from using the tool, just be on the lookout, right? It's just like it's not a domain expert in things like science or mathematics. It is also not a domain expert when it comes to programming. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll be back with some more Git tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time. Okay.